Good morning. It's 9 o'clock, and this morning we're going to talk about investing, real estate investing, and potentially other types of investing, depending what everybody would like to talk about. So, welcome, Craig, Autumn, and anybody else who jumps in. So, I will just make this very interactive. I own single family. I own a townhome with an HOA, which I have great renters. Tried to get them to move out into a different property. They stay, and I'll explain to why that. Own multiplexes, stocks, even crypto, and it's what else? And oil and gas. So a little bit of everything. And the reason I do that is not to brag; it's just to diversify. And I really believe that when you buy a stock, you have very little control, but it's very easy to do. You push a couple buttons, and in less than a minute, you own Apple, you own Nvidia, if you like, whatever you want to do, or crypto. Control is you have no say. When it comes to real estate, it takes a lot longer to invest in. One of the things is hopefully with if you've been doing it a while, you know the market or you know your farm, and if you see a great deal or a past client lets you know, then that can happen very quickly. But a lot of other times, there's a lot of research that goes into this. So, Craig, if you'd like to share, do you or whoever's on there, do you have any real estate properties? Or are you looking to acquire your first? Just kind of trying to feel who my audience is on this call.
I don't have any at the moment, Brian, but it's something I am interested in and learning more about too.
Awesome. Well, happy to share. Which market are you in, Craig?
I'm right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Is that Lake Norman in the background?
No, that's Lake Wiley, actually. I'm on the other side of Charlotte.
Okay, so the South Carolina side?
Yes, sir.
All
Yeah.
right, well, now I'll be heading to Lake Norman next weekend. Love it there. So
Yeah, it's great. It really is a great area.
it is. And Heidi, just a quick question. I just explained my portfolio. I'm just asking, do you have any investment properties yet? Or are you looking to acquire your first?
Hi, good morning. Yes, I have at the moment just one investment property. I have a fourplex
Awesome. And which market are you in, or where's that located, if you don't mind sharing?
in Bergen County, New Jersey.
All right. Well, boy, we have Craig from outside Charlotte, where I'm going to go visit some friends next week, and I'm originally from Philly, Heidi. So I got a fun crew here. So I was just explaining. I have a couple fourplexes too, and I call them multifamily. They could be duplex, triplex, fourplex, and then after that, you have to get different financing for five or more. It's much more of a commercial style loan. Potentially could be easier or harder to get. They ask for a lot more, in essence, collateral. So we'll talk about that. So, and Craig was just explaining that he's looking to get his first. And Charlotte is, I go to a lot of investment seminars, and Charlotte is one of those that they keep talking about, but you have to be very careful when you go to these webinars or seminars that come in locally. And is a lot of times they're giving their great success stories from purchases they bought in 2009 to 2014. When in 2014 is when the real estate market really picked up from the Great Recession. And your numbers look fantastic if you bought 10 or more years ago, because prices were literally a half or even a third than they are now because we were in the Great Recession. So if you purchased after that, let's just say 5 or 6 years ago, they were still good because then after COVID, they went through the roof. And with values went through the roof. And one of those reasons why values started going up, even in fourplexes, even though everybody wanted single family homes, is because it was so cheap to borrow money. Right now, it is harder. So you really have to do a lot more research. So what I was just saying to Craig in the very beginning, Heidi, is if you want to buy a stock, it's very simple. It takes less than a minute. You click a couple buttons and you own Apple or crypto. Real estate, it's a lot more research. And if you're want to spend $1,000 in the stock market, that's easy. If you want to spend $1,000 in real estate, that's impossible. You have to sometimes, literally as an investor, get 20% down, 25% down, depending on your institution. You can go with hard money and actually sometimes do 10% down, but you're paying a much higher interest rate. So there's all these different factors, or you can just do cash, just depending on the situation. And then the best part is potentially using other people's cash. Hopefully we all have friends. A friend of mine calls them his homies, his buddies, long-term friends that he calls up and says, listen, I've got a deal. I'm tapped out, but if you'd like a 6% return, I need 100,000, or I need 50,000, but when you say I need, is if you handle that money, then you have to get different types of series, like financial series licenses. But what you say is, no, let's form a partnership and we'll put that money. And when we buy the property, that your money will go right to the title company, the escrow. So you never touch it, but you have an agreement with them. You have contracts. So yes, you have an attorney. They write up agreements for you so that even though they're your friends, you still make sure it's all done legally. And that, if you're offering 6% return, that you're going to pay them. Is it monthly? Is it quarterly? Or is it when the project's over? Everything's different. And is the project a 90-day flip? Like it just needs some paint, lipstick, we call it, and it'll look great. And that will be 90 days. It takes you 3 weeks to, remodel, whatever light remodeling. If you got to do a full remodel and get permits, you're starting to look at probably, 4 to 6 months. So how do you have to pay them back? And then you're also paying contractors at the same time. So part of their money could be for the down payment and also the contractors. So let's just use easy numbers, 100 grand, and you get 5 different investors. And all of a sudden you just had them all buy it. Maybe you didn't use any of your money. Your money's used for the contractors, or you only needed 400,000 and that money's sitting in an escrow account at the title company to pay, it says a line item, to your general contractor. Just depending on your state, what you can and can't do, talk to your title company, also talk to a contractor. So investing, there's so many different ways to skin this. It's incredible. And there's also so many different ways to get burned. So has anybody ever heard, when you purchase a property, accelerated depreciation called cost segregation? Okay, cost segregation, and you could just do like a thumbs up in the chat room or whatnot, and I'll just look and keep that as if you have any questions, fire away. But cost segregation is when you buy an investment property, you get 27 and a half years of a straight line depreciation. So again, let's just say you buy a house for $270,000, for 27 years, I guess we'll use 275,000. You can cost segregate that over the length, and each year you're taking off $10,000 for 27 and a half years. So that's how much you get to say that the asset has depreciated, and you can use that against your income. That is cool, unless you have a lot of income coming in from multiple sources. Then you look at doing a cost segregation, talk to your accountant. Of course, the big disclosures here is I'm going to talk a lot about legal things, accounting things, and we're not CPAs. So this is when you talk to your friends, is you have to tell them to run it by CPAs, attorneys, financial consultants. You ask them to run it by their financial consultants. Craig or Heidi, do you think a financial consultant will give them the thumbs up or thumbs down about investing with a friend into real estate right now, or really at any time?
Thumbs down.
And why thumbs down, Craig?
Well, first of all, I think it's a slippery slope investing with a friend.
Right, of course.
Second of all, I think a financial advisor is locked into stocks and bonds and traditional kind of investments like that. I don't think that they think out of the box in terms of real estate. And I hope I'm not, uh, you know, I hope that doesn't offend anybody who could be in the finance industry who hears this, but I just don't think that's the case.
I agree with you, and I've been in rooms with CPAs, financial advisors, insurance agents. I didn't even talk about insurance, attorneys, and the CPA, and literally the insurance agent and the stockbroker, the financial consultant, got in an argument about how to spend my money, and I was like, wow. I was like, okay, because guess what? If you take $100,000 out of your stock portfolio and your investor gets paid a percentage on that, well, they just lost, you know,
Yeah.
a a point and a half, less than a point, 2 points, depending what you pay. They just lost $1,000 or $2,000. So maybe it's not in their best interest to tell you that. So you have to ask them those hard questions and just say, well, you tell me to diversify, I'm diversifying my portfolio. So just be careful when you talk to a financial consultant. And I've had clients and friends of mine say, we want to invest in real estate, even when the market was hot. And guess what? Then we did everything. They came to me, and then their financial consultant said, no, don't do that. Don't do that, even when interest rates were low. So it does happen out there. So you just, when you go to your friends and you ask, say, this is a business transaction and there are risks, but it's a 6% return. Or you could say it's a 6% guaranteed return because you feel confident in that. And they could invest with their IRA. So it's in essence, their $100,000 goes into this investment, and then you offer them a 6% return. Well, guess what? That 6% goes back into their IRA. They can't spend it. It's just growing, in essence, tax-free. So they're not going to be on your rear ends as much as somebody who just gave you $100,000 and is like, where's my 6% each month? In an IRA, sorry, let me put that on mute. In an IRA, they're not expecting that money right away. It's a long-term hold. And you tell them that, within 90 days, you'll get paid quarterly, and that's somewhat expected, or even semi-annually or yearly. And you could have things built up that if they don't get paid, then it goes up to 6.5%, whatnot. And again, you're right, slippery slope, Craig, with friends. And at the same time, investors, you just want to make sure you're talking to the right people and that's what you want to do. And maybe it's 25,000, maybe it's 50,000. If you get a whole bunch of people, just remember, let's just say the average investment property, $250,000, you get 5 friends. Well, now you have 5 people that you need to give updates to. It's better if you can maybe do 2, 3 or 1. Do it that way, because then you only have 1 to report to, or 2. So hopefully that makes sense. If you need to go outside to get the money, you could do hard money loan. Let's say you have a lot of equity in your house and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a great deal. And we'll talk about what makes a great deal in a little bit. And this will be just more than one episode, because real estate investing in 30 minutes is not enough time. Maybe 2 episodes. Autumn, we're doing this again next week, but obviously, or in 2 weeks, I think, or next week, sorry. And then maybe we'll add a 3rd or 4th one, depending. So with that is, if you go to hard money, they might say, all right, you've got a couple $100,000 in your house. You want a couple $100,000 loan? Okay, we still want 10% down, and we're going to give you a 10% interest rate, and it's going to cost you 2 or 3 points. Go shopping for this, everyone, because these are the types of things that you can negotiate. Hard money lenders, there's a lot of them out there, and it used to be a very small group of people. Now there's a much larger group of people, and they compete against each other. So somebody might say it's 10% and 2 points, and you might find somebody else that's 9.5% with 1 point. Well, if you're talking about let's just go to a more realistic number, $300,000 investment property, and that 2 points is $6,000. 10% each month is $3,000. You're paying them within 30 days, $9,000 just walked right out the door. So you got to think, how quickly can I turn this? If it's going to be a 4-month hold, and that's what they say, they give you 6 months. You also have to know is, can you do an extension? Or will they charge you another point or half a point or 2 points for an extension? Is the extension 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Those are all the questions to ask up front in your when you're talking to hard money lenders if you don't feel comfortable going down the slippery slope with friends. And Craig, I agree 100%. I haven't even done that yet with friends. I've kind of presented it to a couple, and I just said, listen, there's no pressure here if you're interested. And I actually had people then start coming to me once I started putting the feelers out there. So, but I say, listen, I don't go and jump on every investment property, because if I'm going to do this, I want to make sure I can pay the returns and that it happens. Because the last thing I want is, I don't want them to tell everybody else in your friend network that it was a bust. Okay. Mike is in the waiting room. Sorry, Autumn. I just wanted to let you know. And so with that is, you want to make sure. So again, with friends borrowing money, and at 6%, you're going, Brian, why 6%? Well, a CD right now is 3.95, plus there's other fees with a CD, and that's guaranteed. And if you go to them with 6, that's pretty good. That's almost like a 50% greater return than they could go to the bank. And people will like that. Would you have to, when interest rates were a little higher and CDs were at 5, maybe you had to offer 6.5 or 7%. But if you can offer that kind of return, that's great. And then it's not your money, and you're not borrowing it from a hard money lender at 10. That is still a great idea if you know that it can be quick and that you bought it right. You make money in real estate investing selling or buying the asset. Which one? And this is interactive. We got Mike, Heidi, and Craig. You think it's buying or selling it?
Buying it.
Buying. Absolutely correct. I agree. Because if you buy it too high, even when you sell it, you could lose money or make no money or just make a tiny bit of money. And then you're like, great, I made 2% after all that. It took me, 120 days to do the remodel. And then it took me, I had to pay the hard money lender 10%, or my friends back 6%. I made 2%. And that's because I didn't buy it properly, because I didn't see the sewer line for 15 grand that, needed to be put to the street, because it was actually somewhat on a busier street and we had to close that street. And that cost an extra 5 grand to close the street for a day. Those are some of the things. You can buy properties that, you can buy them directly from wholesalers. So has anybody bought a property from a wholesaler? Does everybody know what a wholesaler is?
I'm familiar with the term, but never purchased through wholesaler.
Okay. So a wholesaler is somebody who will jump into their MLS. This is how they buy properties. They send out mailers, and they send out mailers saying, buy your property now for cash. Maybe you see them on billboards. It all started with We Buy Ugly Houses. I don't know if you remember those billboards from about 15 years ago. Very popular. Well, now Wall Street does it. There's a company called Open Door. Has anybody dealt with Open Door? They in essence are a wholesaler, but they buy it and then they turn around and put lipstick on it, usually new carpet, new paint, maybe a countertop, and then they put it right back on the market. So they're kind of harder to buy from, but you can see, if you see Open Door, you can see what they're doing so that you can learn it. Or if you see a fix and flip, pull up the public record or the history on the home, and sometimes you'll see it that it doesn't show different transfers of owners in the history on your MLS. But if you look at public record, it'll show that it sold. Today's date is August. I had to look and cheat. August 28th. You might see that it's closed yesterday, August 27th, and it went from John Smith, sold it to 123 Apple Street LLC, who then sold it on the same day, and they bought it for $300, and they sold it to you, Heidi, for $310 the same afternoon. You're an investor, but you just paid an extra 10 grand. But guess what? You were able to make a decision like that. Maybe you got to look at it with wholesalers. You usually have to almost walk around with a $10,000 cashier's check in your pocket. Don't make it out to you, make it out to the wholesaler, or be ready to go to a local bank. And that's where you want to be, with a local bank. So if you're in a different neighborhood, there's probably a branch where you can go by there and get that, because if it's a good deal, you'll see 10 other investors like you there. They've watched HGTV. They go to these Facebook Marketplace investment meetups. That's where the wholesalers go. They start talking. They're looking for buyers, their buy list, and you'll get an email from them saying, hey, do you want to go look at this house, or a text? And you have hours to make a decision because you're competing. But if you can pick up that house for 310 and you look at the ARV after repair value, and they always tell you that after repair value is 450, like you're going to make 150, and they think the cost, they just say, they give out a number because it's all verbal. They could be realtors and they could not be realtors. Okay, so it just depends if they have a license or not. And they just tell you, oh, we think it's only going to cost 50,000. So you bought it for 3. You paid, they bought it for 3. You don't know what they bought it for, but you bought it for 310, same day. And now you have 50,000 into it, 360, not including your carrying costs. Okay, let's just say you have to get a hard money loan at, 2 points, and it's 10%, just for easy numbers. So there's your 8,000 in 30 days, and it costs 50. So now you got 58,000 into it. But remember, that's, 2 months or 3 months of rehab, or just say 2 months of rehab, 60 days, you get it done. So now you've got 11,000, because the 2 points, the 3,000, that was 6,000, and 3 is 9, plus 3 is 12, 12,000 into it, just on top of the 50, so 62. But now it takes 2 months to sell, it takes a few weeks, maybe a price decrease, you don't get 450, you get 425, plus you have to pay the other realtor and all your carrying costs. And instead of you in your mind thinking that you're going to make, you bought it for 310, 50,000, 360, 450, in your mind, you're quick, I'm making 90, but now you're really making 50, let's say, and you've got 380 into it. Or let's just say, I'm sorry, guys, I'm trying to do easy math here. If you have 400 into it and you made 50,000, always have your calculator out. 50,000 divided by 400. You made about a 13% return. Well, anytime you can make over 10, that's pretty good. That would be worthwhile doing. But what you didn't include, or what I didn't include, is you got to pay the other realtor, whatever percentage, 2, 2.5, 3, whatever your market is. Maybe you don't have a realtor. Maybe you sell it because you put your for sale sign up and it's your own listing, and you put it up, while you're remodeling, depending on your MLS rules, whatever. I know nationally it's like a week in advance. And at the same time, it's your own house. You could do a for sale by owner. Okay. Sign, which is, you own it. So there's a lot of different ways of trying to avoid that. And you're like, Brian, but we're realtors. Then you could put it out on the market, and you start advertising it, and you put it out on social media like this is a fix and flip, and you let your friends know about it, and you attract, and maybe some of your friends are like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. I saw that on HGTV. And you say, well, that's great. What kind of return would you like? Oh, well, I want to double my money. Well, that's not going to happen. We don't even double our money. Okay. We potentially could if we have everybody else's money in it, but it's really hard. So anytime you get a 10% return or greater, that's pretty good. You really want like 15% and really closer to 20. So if you're writing these numbers down, if you can get a 20% return after even like missing maybe a $15,000 sewer line and carrying costs and everything, if you can get a 20% return and flip it in less than 6 months, all said and done, because it may take you like 2 or 3 months to remodel, 2 months to sell it, and a month to close it. And I'm just trying to be realistic. If it goes quicker, then that's great. But if you get a 20% return, you figure out a way to go down that slippery slope, Craig, and find friends, because you can offer them a 6% return all day long, or 7% return, and you still can keep your 20%. A lot of this is numbers, and you got to know them. You could also do the same thing as finding properties. That's like finding the money is easy, because money will go where money is made. And what I mean by that is, if you prove yourself and do this and can show real numbers and show it to friends, then they'll trust you and they'll invest with you. And it may not be friends. It may be clients that are you're friendly with, but maybe not your inner circle. Okay. Your inner circle will trust you. And then if you feel comfortable enough, you can do that. But money will find money. And everybody thinks the money is the hard thing to find. Listen, you can go in this TAC mastermind, and if the numbers are right, there are people that will come and say, sure, Craig, you found a house near Lake Norman. That's fantastic. I'll be there next week. Let's go. And, I don't have time to take a look at it, but if you have a proven track record and the numbers are at, and you need 50, 100 grand, and we do all the paperwork, boom. I mean, you don't even have to go to your friend network of your tight knit friends, your inner circle. You could just go to a TAC mastermind group. Okay. I'm not, Jesse's going to tell me, Brian, there's a whole bunch of things here. I'm just saying is that's you reaching out and seeing who wants to invest. If the numbers add up, that's a no brainer. Is it a long-term hold? That's the other thing you have to look at. And I know we only have a few minutes left, but you want to categorize your assets that you're looking at purchasing. Okay, this asset, is this a asset that I'm going to hold on to or flip? So real quickly. And then if you go, all right, I'm going to hold on to it. There's short-term, mid-term, and long-term. And due to time, I'm just going to rattle them off. Short-term is about 3 years, 2 to 4 years. Mid-term is about 4 years to 10 years. Okay, a long-term asset is 10 years plus, and there's even a lifelong asset, like a fourplex, Heidi, or even an apartment building that you could pass down the generations. And so again and that you may have to go in and buy with a whole group of people. That's where people are coming to you for money and you go in and buy. It could be an Amazon warehouse. There's all these, a Delaware trust group. There's all these different things. And then when you purchase, and this is where I just run out of time. When you purchase, don't purchase in your name, because if something goes wrong, that's not good. Create a LLC with your state. You can have an attorney type it up. If you have an attorney that talk to other investors. Maybe they have an attorney, they have a template. It shouldn't be more than a couple $100. And you create a LLC real quickly. And with this, whatever state you're in, and you do it the right way. And yes, it costs a little bit of money, but that's all the costs of doing business. You may want to decide to buy each asset individually, or you may want to create a mothership and have all the assets go into that. The only problem is if all your assets are in a mothership and there's a lawsuit, an attorney is going to be like, oh, cool. Well, this, 1, 2, 3 apples related to 4, 5, 6 orange related to 7, 8, 9 pineapple. We're going to sue everybody. So that's where you want to make sure you hire a good attorney to do that. And then the next thing is, which state do you want to be in? Heidi, you're right next to Delaware. That's a great state. Jacina, sorry, I don't know how to say your name. I apologize. I don't know which state you're in, but we have like New Jersey, North Carolina. I'm in Colorado. You may want to go to more protective states. Anybody know what a really good protective state if you're a corporation is to protect you from lawsuits?
Delaware.
Any others?
Nevada one too.
Nevada's not a bad one. Yeah, that's up there. Wyoming is another one. Good states to die in are South Carolina, Craig, and you want to look at like South Dakota, and you're like, why doing that is just state tax purposes. We talked about investing, but and also with these properties, if you're going to hold on to them long term, the beautiful part is when you die, they get reassessed at their current real estate value. So let's say if you bought a property for 300 and 30 years from now, it's worth $1 million. Your heirs, if you have them, will actually, and if they decide to sell it, they're not paying on that $700,000 capital gains. You get it, they get it appraised for $1 million. They sell it for $1 million. They just, made $700,000 tax free. Again, I'm not a CPA, but wonderful things. We're coming up to the clock. I had all these spreadsheets to show you, but you really want to have spreadsheets in there. You want to have, if you're going to keep them as rentals, you want to use platforms for the rentals. I can give you guys some different platform names. They could do all the contracts for your rentals. Try not to recreate the wheel here. There are costs of doing business here. The biggest things is finding the properties. You can go through the wholesale. You can look at MLS. I pulled up on an MLS chart, just sharing that screen. I was just looking at, homes. You'll see here homes that have been listed since February to now, and I have it days in MLS. I could actually, if you just see this and you see all my windows open, but you could see these are the longest days on the MLS. And these maybe are the properties you go to. Maybe these are not the areas you like, or maybe they are, but I'm looking for aged properties. Why are they aged? I didn't go by price. I could go by price, but I'm just going here. Denver Boulder is a very expensive area. So trying to find a 300,000 is like near impossible. Hey, there's a $400,000 one. It's been on the market for 139 days. 4 beds, 2 baths could be a good rental. It doesn't have a garage. I think that's important. Make all these columns important to you so that you know what you're looking for. You can see the price per square footage. I like to buy properties without an HOA because that's just a fixed expense that no matter what, you have to pay the HOA. If it's a great neighborhood and the HOA makes sense, swimming pool, everything, then maybe in there, but I prefer not HOA. But what I look for is days on market. And then you could sit there and go, well, Brian, what about a brand new listing that may be underpriced? Don't forget about those. That's where the wholesalers go. And you could put in keywords in your searches as like fix up, sold as is. Just type in words as is and let your MLS do that search. And then reach out to that agent and maybe just go look. You'll have to go drive around these neighborhoods. And when you're driving around the neighborhoods, if you don't know them that well, you are looking at the cars in the driveways or on the streets. That will give you an idea of the neighborhood if you just can't tell. Another good way to learn real quickly is dead grass or live grass. No HOAs. That shows you pride of ownership. If it's an HOA, you got to have live grass. But if there's no HOA, if all of a sudden they got half parked cars in the neighbor's yard, on blocks, and there's oil stains everywhere, and the driveway is, or not, the driveway's all cracked and beat up, and that's next to the property you want, just keep in mind, if you're looking to flip it, it's going to be hard. If you're looking to rent it, it could be hard. All those things come into play, and that's why it takes longer to buy real estate investments than stocks. And I'm not here promoting stocks. I'm just saying this is an investment seminar, and since we're realtors, is we also have the inside track, and it's not illegal. Because sometimes we get caught up and we walk into a home for sale and the client's like, well, I'm thinking about, you should ask every time you're on an appointment, are you looking for a quick sale? Yes. What's most important to you? The quick sale. I need the money. Well, okay, the home's worth, $350 on the open market. Will you take, $290 cash today? And they'll be like, absolutely. And you'll be like, oh man, I should have offered $250. They could be past clients. They could be referred to you. They just want the money for whatever reasons. So make sure when you go on an appointment, you ask every seller and you let them know, I have a couple different hats here. I can be the investor, which, depending on your situation may work for you. And, and then maybe not. I have my realtor hat on, which if you're looking for the most money and have more time on your hands, I have that as well. And then if you're looking to make improvements, I can help you with contractors as well. So depending on the program and which state you're in and which EXP, sponsored company, and you can go on your state website or just into EXP World and look for that. And if you're not part of EXP, then that's just something that we offer, or ask your broker. So any questions? We'll just wrap it up. I know we went a couple minutes over. Anybody like to ask me anything, please? And again, we'll be doing this next week. I think Autumn put that in there, but fire away. Anything in the chat box? I'm going to look. Thank you, Craig. Part 2 is next week, September 3rd, same time. And like this, I already think, Autumn, just because I never even got into all the spreadsheets, we'll do a couple more of these. Thank you, Heidi.
Sounds good. Thanks. Thank you, Brian.
Heidi, also shop your insurance and fight your taxes. Those are some things that you can control. when you buy an investment property as well. Insurance is all over the place. We didn't even get into those either. Just make sure your rental contracts are up to date each year too. A lot of state laws are changing, favoring renters more, and just to protect yourself, Heidi.
Yeah, thank you.
You betcha. All right, Heidi. So just on a side note, Southern New Jersey or Northern New Jersey? I don't know your counties.
North.
North? Okay. So, how I am just going to assume that your market is getting stronger because a lot of people that moved to Florida are now coming back because they're going to make people come back. So look for
Yeah.
trends. Craig, if you're near, I mean, North Carolina, I know they have a BMW plant. It's been there forever. But if they're going to open up another plant for making widgets or whatever, you want to buy in that area. And maybe it's a couple hours away from Charlotte, but it's still in North Carolina. And maybe it's in an area that you want to go visit, or maybe it's in South Carolina. Look at your state laws too about investing in different states, and try to look for states that are more landlord friendly. And they're diminishing, but that's where you want to look as well. And also, just with the TAC Mastermind, maybe that's something we start doing. Autumn is once a month. We present investment opportunities to our friends and let our friends know that if they'd like to invest in it, even if we're selling it, or just let us know. So
That's
I know Jesse's on vacation, but that's just something to add as well. Sorry, Autumn, but
I'll mention that to Jesse.
because it's also a good place for us to practice. It's like, hey, this is what I want to bring to the market, or my client, this is what it is. And let our other investors that are part of the agent collective poke holes in it. Like, hey, actually, Brian, that number doesn't make sense or whatnot. Thanks, Craig.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything? Heidi? It's just you and I now.
Okay, no, thank you. I was just staying on till the end.
You got it.
Okay,
Autumn, have a
bye-bye.
great day, everybody. Have a wonderful, safe Labor Day. And remember, everybody else is on vacation Labor Day. This is a good time for an investor to go take a peek too. So have a great time, everybody. Good luck.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.